Hi there, good evening and welcome to the special broadcast on Republic TV. Hope you had a great Sunday. And now it's time to look forward to the coming week. This show, Looking Forward, is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days and weeks. News that is developing and would have consequences for your life and mine and impact our choices. Stories that shape India's and perhaps world's political and economics going forward. So let's get going. Just a while ago, we had pictures coming in of a farewell party in space. On the International Space Station, our own group captain Shubhanshu Shukla and his teammates of the Axiom 4 mission were given a send-off as they prepare to undock from the ISS and return back on Earth on Tuesday. The descent begins tomorrow. I'll have you updated on the nuts and bolts of the return journey. Second, ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament, momentum is building up for the impeachment of Justice Varma. Would it happen? Would the government muster the numbers, given it requires a special majority in both the houses of Parliament? We shall bring to you how the political forces are aligned. Third, Bihar's leader of opposition Tejasvi Yadav has crossed a red line of decency today while opposing the special drive of the Election Commission to cleanse the electoral rolls of ineligible voters. He abused the media. But why is this exercise facing so much resistance from the opposition forces in the state? There's even a communal spin being given. We take a look on what's happening. Fourth, now that the preliminary report on the Air India AI-171 crash is out, how things go forward? Everyone wants to know. We will do some crystal ball gazing on the future of the probe till the final report comes in. And finally, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is landing in China tomorrow to participate in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. This is his first visit to China after the 2020 Galwan standoff. Also the first after Operation Sindoor, in which India has found Chinese involvement. Also the first visit after the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday, which was last week. A lowdown on the quicksand of diplomacy that Jaishankar would have to negotiate. It's a power-packed show. Tonight, let's begin with the headlines.
गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूं कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है.
Shubhanshu Shukla's homecoming Axiom 4 crew bids farewell to International Space Station undocking set for tomorrow. Lalu San disparages democracy in a brazen display of abuse of power. Tejasvi Yadav insults journalism and media during a press briefing in Patna. A huge controversy erupts over AIB's preliminary crash report. Pilot Association rejects insinuation, condemns premature presumption of pilot error. Right, in Tamil Nadu, early probe finds cracks in tracks after freight train ferrying diesel and crude oil catches fire near Thiruvallur. President Draupadi Murmu nominates former Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla, 2611 lawyer Ujjwal Nikam, Kerala activist Sadanandan Master, and historian Meenakshi Jain to Rajya Sabha. Prime Minister Modi extends wishes. Right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Just earlier this week, the Supreme Court upheld the special intensive revision of the electoral roll in Bihar. which is taking place just months ahead of the state assembly elections. 10 political parties had approached the top court, but even they conceded inside that ECI was well within its right to carry out the revision. Then why this fear-mongering? The only bone of contention remained the inclusion of Aadhaar cards or the voter ID card or the ration card for verification of facts, something which even the Supreme Court urged the ECI to consider. It has been considered. But that is all it could do. Given that much like the judiciary, the ECI is an independent institution, there is no doubt that it has been a legal setback for the India in the latest play of ECI gambit ahead of the elections. But they are not stopping from targeting the Election Commission. When has that stopped or deterred the opposition, even if the Supreme Court takes a position? The only question remains, will it spiral out of control? Our next report attempts to decode just that. Take a look.
The Election Commission seems to have opened a Pandora's box in Bihar ahead of the crucial assembly polls later this year. The election watchdog announced a special intensive revision of voters' list on the 24th of June to weed out ineligible names and ensure only rightful citizens are included in the rolls. The last time a similar exercise was carried out in Bihar was in 2003. Only that this time, by the nature of documents sought, it has ended up being an exercise in citizenship verification as against a mere voting rights verification based on existing rolls. The document lists hit the proverbial hornet's nest.
चुनाव आयोग सवालों के घेरे में है। ठीक बिहार चुनाव के 1-2 माह पूर्व SIR के नाम पर, वोटर रिवीजन के नाम पर चुनाव आयोग मताधिकार का प्रयोग करने से गरीबों को रोक रहे हैं। जो वोट के अधिकार से वंचित करने की मंशा रखते हैं, ये नहीं चल सकता।
The direct charge of malintent against the Election Commission might be typical Bihar style of aggressive political push and is already affecting state's politics.
इलेक्शन कमीशन की जिम्मेदारी ये होती है या उससे उम्मीद की जाती है कि वो वोटर को फैसिलिटेट करेगा ताकि वोट डालने का जो उसको जमहूरी हक है, जो उसका डेमोक्रेटिक राइट है, उसका उपयोग वो सही ढंग से कर सके। ये पूरी प्रक्रिया एंटी डेमोक्रेटिक है। ये पूरी प्रक्रिया में न तो आपने समय दिया है, न तो आपने कोई एक रूल पे खुद को स्टिक किया है, और इसकी जो टाइमिंग है वो संदेहास्पद है। इस तरह के एक्सरसाइज करने में सबसे पहले इलेक्शन कमीशन सरकार से बात करती है, तमाम पार्टीज जो लोग इन्वॉल्व हैं इलेक्शन में उनसे बात करती है। इस तरह का प्रयास कुछ हुआ ही नहीं।
Ruling alliance believes these are excuses of the opposition which has been found unprepared.
स्थिति यह है कि विपक्ष के द्वारा इस मुद्दे को उठाया गया, बिहार केंद्रित किया गया, बिहार में चक्का जाम की बात कही गई, लेकिन नेताजी का चक्का चल रहा था, गाड़ी का राजनीति का चक्का चल रहा था, ट्रक पर सवार होकर राजनीतिक प्रवचन दे रहे थे। जबकि सच यह है बिहार का कि मतदाताओं के पुनरीक्षण के लिए जेडीयू ने पूरे बिहार में पंचायत और वार्ड वार साइकिल यात्रा करके जागरूकता अभियान चलाया।
The matter has even reached the Supreme Court. The PIL, by Association of Democratic Reforms, alleges a violation of the constitution in the ECI exercise. ADR plea was backed by 9 other petitions, all by opposition parties, making the same argument: possible large-scale disenfranchisement of eligible voters. However, in a setback to the opposition, the top court refused to stop the exercise, with some instructions to assuage some concerns. The Supreme Court also agreed to consider some key questions raised by the opposition.
इसलिए इंडिया गठबंधन सड़क से लेकर अदालत तक लड़ाई लड़ रही है। माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में सुनवाई के दौरान भी वही सवाल खड़े हुए जो तेजस्वी यादव जी उठा रहे हैं। चुनाव आयोग से तो सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने भी कहा कि आधार कार्ड को, राशन कार्ड को, वोटर आई कार्ड को, मनरेगा कार्ड को क्यों नहीं मान्यता दी जा रही है और क्यों इतने कम समय में कराया जा रहा है इसके लिए, और पहले शुरू क्यों नहीं कराया गया।
According to the Election Commission, the exercise was necessitated by rapid urbanization, frequent migration, young citizens becoming eligible since the last round in 2003, and factors like non-reporting of death, and in the case of women, migrations due to marriages. And then there is this attempt to give it a communal color. AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi, CPM General Secretary M.A. Baby somehow see in the voters list cleansing exercise a sinister plot to shove in the NRC, the National Registry of Citizens.
बिहार में आधार कार्ड बनने का जहां तक सवाल है, तो केवल सीमांचल में ही यह सवाल नहीं है। यह जो लोग सवाल उठा रहे हैं वो दिमागी फितूर के अलावा कुछ भी नहीं है। सच्चाई है कि शेखपुरा में मुसलमानों की आबादी कितनी है, 116% कैसे बन गया। शिवहर में 112% मिला, बन गया। अरवल में 103% है, बेगूसराय में 115% है, बक्सर में 107% है। तो केवल और 2011 की सामाजिक आर्थिक जो जनगणना हुई थी उसमें यह स्पष्ट है कि सीमांचल में नहीं, सबसे ज़्यादा मुसलमानों की आबादी का प्रतिशत बढ़ा तो वह मधेपुरा में और खगड़िया में। हम चुनाव आयोग से यही अनुरोध करेंगे कि ऐसा कोई भी व्यक्ति जो इस हिंदुस्तान का नागरिक है, जिसको वैध दस्तावेज इसके पास उपलब्ध है, कोई छूटे नहीं।
The Election Commission also clarified that the documents asked for need not be submitted at this stage. Only a photo with the designated application form would suffice. Those on the street who are directly affected, however, do not find anything wrong, just that they want the Aadhaar card added as an eligibility document.
जो दस्तावेज मांगे गए हैं वो दस्तावेज में मैं मांग करना चाहता हूँ चुनाव आयोग से, भारत के चुनाव आयोग और बिहार के निर्वाचन आयोग से, कि उसमें आधार कार्ड को इंक्लूड किया जाए, जिससे हमारे जितने भी परेशानी झेलने को मिल रही है कि बहुत लोगों के पास मैट्रिक पास सर्टिफिकेट नहीं होगी, बहुत लोगों के पास पासपोर्ट साइज सर्टिफिकेट नहीं होगी, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो विपक्ष लोग गए हैं, हंगामा किए हैं, गुंडागर्दी किए हैं इस विषय पर, उनको ये जागरूकता करना चाहिए था कि वोटर लिस्ट में कैसे जुड़े। वो लोग सिर्फ बिहार बंद इसलिए किए थे कि गुंडागर्दी करें।
यह निर्णय चुनाव आयोग का बहुत ही अच्छा निर्णय है और सभी लोग को मतदान जो पहचान पत्र बना रहे हैं सब पूरा बिहार में, उसमें कुछ दस्तावेजों की समस्या है। हम चुनाव आयोग से हम भी मांग करते हैं कि उसमें आधार कार्ड को जोड़ा जाए।
Amid all this, of the over 7 crore electorate in Bihar, about 80% have already complied with Election Commission's instructions, giving a thumbs up to the exercise. It is clear, despite clarifications from the Election Commission, Bihar politics has got a trigger that can snowball going ahead. Over to the Supreme Court hearing of 28th of July for now.
All right, moving on, the Parliament's monsoon session is just 1 week away. And yet, it's not a political storm, but a judicial one that's brewing 7 days ahead. The reason is Justice Yashwant Varma, the now transferred judge to the Allahabad High Court, with whom the credibility of the court went up in smoke in March when a sensational cash scandal of crores of burnt cash was uncovered at his residence. While the Supreme Court is dragging its feet, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju has made the government's position clear. An impeachment motion is expected. Will this be the moment that shakes the judiciary to its core? The truth is on trial.
Our judiciary had ideas of March. On the night intervening 14th and 15th March,
in a nation built on justice, one man stands at the center of a storm.
Therefore, continuance of Justice Yashwant Varma any further as High Court judge is dangerous for the democracy as it eroded public faith.
we are confronted with a jarring reality. A judge's residence in Lutyens, Delhi had burnt notes, cash hole. There is no FIR till date. Everyone in the country is now thinking whether this will be passed off, whether it will fade with time, and they are really concerned.
A storm that threatens to shake the very foundation of our judiciary.
There was cash hole, obviously tainted, unaccounted, illegal.
And unexplained.
It appeared in public domain after 6-7 days.
Yes.
Imagine if it had not appeared.
Justice Yashwant Varma, now a senior judge of the Allahabad High Court, has embroiled himself in a scandal that has left the entire country stunned.
How come criminal justice system was not operationalized as it would have done for every other individual?
A scandal that has no answers 4 months on.
The government at the central level is handicapped because an FIR cannot be registered in view of a judgment of the Supreme Court rendered in early 90s.
The entire nation is questioning the credibility of its very important institutions.
What is the money trail? Where did this huge cash come from?
Yes.
Are there big sharks? Has the money influenced judiciary in judicial work?
Yes.
All these issues are agitating mind not only of the lawyers, of the people in the street. If democratic values have to prosper, I'm sure this is a test case. There must be swift investigation by those concerned with investigation.
With Parliament's monsoon session just days away, the battle for his impeachment is heating up. Will justice prevail, or will the system protect its own? It took 8 days after the fire for the Supreme Court of India to swing into action after massive media outrage. The top court formed a 3-member inquiry committee to probe the scandal, led by the Chief Justices of Punjab and Haryana High Court and the Himachal Pradesh High Court and a senior judge of the Karnataka High Court. The panel dismissed theories of conspiracy, holding Justice Varma accountable, and on May 4th, 2025, the report was sent to the then Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna, who forwarded it to the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Over 2 months now, that report has been submitted and yet no action has been taken. No FIR was filed.
So I feel that it's high time that the Supreme Court itself revisits its judgment where it has barred the police from registering an FIR. If you see, even under the Prevention of Corruption Act, when Section 18A was inserted, where consent is required even to investigate case against a public servant, trap cases are excluded. So where money is found, or money is being delivered, or money has been found at a residence of a judge in such a huge quantity, this should be an exception where permission of the CJI should not be required, firstly. Secondly, even if permission is required, immediate registration of FIR against unknown person should take place, and that should be again spelled out by the Supreme Court by its judgment, so that at least the whether the judge is involved or not will come later, but at least the investigation should go on. Even if the judge is being framed, it's a very serious matter, and it needs to be investigated.
While the Supreme Court is ominously silent, questions are being asked on was there an attempt to bury the truth. The lack of police investigation has left the Parliament with only one option: impeachment. A constitutional weapon rarely wielded.
Impeachment motion against Justice Varma is a matter related to the corruption in judiciary. So there is no scope for any politicking. There is no scope for taking a separate political position for every party. So we would like to have a united stand. The Parliament as a whole will have to come together to discuss this matter and move forward. So I am building consensus amongst all the political parties, and I have started a discussion with prominent leaders, and I'll reach out to everybody.
India has never successfully impeached a High Court judge. In 1993, Justice V. Ramaswamy's impeachment failed in the Lok Sabha due to lack of political consensus. In 2011, Justice Soumitra Sen resigned before the Lok Sabha could even vote. The Justice Varma case could be a historic first, but it's a political minefield, with many jurists already coming out in his support.
सरकार कह रही है कि हम इम्पीचमेंट लाना चाहते हैं, तो इनसे पूछिए कि सरकार तो इम्पीचमेंट ले ही नहीं सकती, तो सरकार क्यों इसमें दखलंदाजी कर रही है? बिना सोचे समझे जांच पड़ताल किए एक इंस्टीट्यूशन अटैक हो रहा है ना.
However, top members of the bar are not in concurrence to this resistance to impeach Justice Varma.
So the Constitution actually does not provide for any procedure. The Constitution merely provides for the two-third majority by the Parliament for the purposes of impeachment. Independently, there is a Judges Inquiry Act. So if there is an allegation against a judge which needs to be inquired into, normally it will go into the Judges Inquiry Act. And it is only after a detailed inquiry, as per the Judges Inquiry Act, impeachment should follow. But this is not one of those cases which will be bound by that procedure, because the Constitution does not make any limitation on the power of the Parliament to impeach subject to any law made by Parliament. The power of the Parliament to impeach is independent of the Judges Inquiry Act. And in this case, since there is a credible inquiry done by three, very senior, two Chief Justices and a judge of the sitting judge of the High Court, I don't see that there is any necessity for doing a separate inquiry under the Judges Inquiry Act. And on the basis of this report, which is a credible report where the judge has been given ample opportunity to give his defense, an indictment has come. So I think on the basis of this report itself, the Parliament can do that impeachment, because there is no bar on the Parliament to do impeachment if it has already before it a credible inquiry report with regard to misdemeanor by a judge.
As the monsoon session looms on July 21st, 2025, the government is racing to secure signatures for the impeachment motion. With over 100 Lok Sabha MPs reportedly on board, the ruling coalition backed by allies like JDU and the TDP, is pushing hard for a united front against judicial corruption.
We remember the JP moment of 1975, which was directed against Ghafoor corruption and Mrs. Gandhi's corruption. Therefore, the emergency was declared. Therefore, we are for the zero tolerance on these corruption issues, and the lifestyle of the Indian society is becoming more and more costlier. Therefore, these kind of events and incidents occur. But this is a very typical case of bribery of a justice.
What is alarming is that we have been receiving complaints from several levels of the judiciary on matters of corruption. So this is a time where judiciary has to probably introspect, and try to address the concerns of the people of India and the allegations which are coming up.
Even the opposition has taken a tamed approach on this very serious issue of judicial accountability.
Supreme Court had constituted a committee which has submitted its report, and a report says that definitely money was found from his house. So impeachment should be started and he should be impeached.
Definitely our party, the Communist Party of India, will raise this issue, and other parties also will raise this issue. It is a very serious issue. How such huge amount of money was found in the residence of a judge. Whether judge was aware of it or not, that is not the issue. How such huge amount of money could be found in the residence of a judge.
However, there are some who still call it interference in the matters of judiciary.
मतलब ये है कि रिजिजू साहब ने प्रयास कर रहे हैं विपक्षी दलों के साथ कि इकट्ठा होकर ये तय करना चाहिए कि इस जज को रिमूव करें, यशवंत वर्मा को रिमूव करें। लेकिन अगर ये ऐसा करेंगे तो निश्चित रूप से हम विरोध करेंगे। ये पूरा असंवैधानिक है और हम ये चेतावनी देते हैं इस सरकार को, अगर ऐसा करेंगे तो पूरा असंवैधानिक होगा और हम इस पे फिर जो भी करना होगा करेंगे, क्योंकि हम सोचते हैं कि ऐसे अगर प्रेसिडेंट बन जाएं तो निश्चित रूप से जुडिशियल इंडिपेंडेंस को भी बड़ा भारी खतरा है।
The numbers tell a daunting story. To remove Justice Varma, the motion needs a 2/3 majority in both houses of parliament, 362 votes in the Lok Sabha and 155 in the Rajya Sabha. Will they secure the votes, or will this become another failed impeachment?
The purpose of impeachment is, or the purpose of an inquiry is, to ensure that the judge does not go, unheard before his matter is put to vote in the parliament. Now, in this case, he has been heard, his defense has been taken, elaborate, investigation has been done by the committee, and after a detailed inquiry, the committee has found the evidence against him to be credible. The committee then placed its opinion to the Chief Justice of India. Chief Justice of India also has affirmed or concurred with the opinion by the committee, and it is only thereafter that the matter has been sent to the President and the Prime Minister for taking appropriate action. So, in my view, the evidence which would be normally required for going through with the impeachment is available here in this case.
If the impeachment motion reaches the parliament's floor, Justice Varma will face a trial like no other. He will get 3 chances to defend himself before an expert committee. But the spotlight won't be on him. It will be on the judiciary itself. A successful impeachment would be a seismic event, the first of its kind for a High Court judge in India's history. What happens if Justice Varma is removed? The judiciary's aura of infallibility could crack, shaking public trust, and yet it could also signal a new era of accountability, proving that no one is above the law. But what if the motion fails? A divided parliament could embolden critics accusing the system of protecting its own. the July 21st session will be a battleground, not just for Justice Varma, but for the soul of India's judiciary. In 1 week, India will witness a historic reckoning. Will Justice Yashwant Varma be impeached? Or will the system shield him? The monsoon session is coming, and with it, a verdict that could reshape the judiciary forever. Because it's the truth that's on trial.
All right, let's understand how much of this Justice Varma impeachment is in the realm of possibility. Joining us, Nalin Kohli, senior leader of the BJP, senior lawyer of the Supreme Court, and hence has all the understanding on the subject. Welcome, Nalin. And my first question to you. We have had statements from Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju. We have a string of statements from Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar about the need, the imperatives of impeachment of Justice Varma. But then the numbers still seem not to be adding up for the BJP in Parliament. You need opposition. You think your party is working in that direction?
So there are multiple points to be spoken of on this issue, Abhishek. For the understanding of your viewers, judges, like also ministers or other constitutional authorities, or those occupying such positions, have certain protections. Now, a judge can be removed of a Supreme Court or a High Court. They can be removed as contemplated under the Constitution in Article 124. Now, essentially, the point here is that the incident involved questions of money being found in the storeroom of Justice Varma's house, which was reported by the fire brigade. Thereafter, at that time, the Chief Justice of India being Chief Justice of India, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, initiated and ordered an inquiry of a 3-judge bench. That 3-judge committee submitted its report finally, which said that there was prima facie enough evidence, in a sense, to move in terms of the removal of Justice Varma and call for the initiation of those proceedings. Because the ground taken was that there was active or at least tacit control over the area where these wads of money were found. Now, Chief Justice that time, Khanna, went by what is the famous Veeraswamy judgment, which is a 5-judge bench of 1991.
Right. And
that talks about what is to be done in a certain situation, talks about the voluntary giving up of work, the option of resignation, etc. And basically says that, ultimately, if a judge is guilty of any criminal conduct or if there is any allegation of such, what is to be contemplated is all provided in that judgment.
Right.
So Chief Justice Khanna went according to that. That report has gone. Now the next step, logically, will fall on Parliament. In Parliament, your question now becomes relevant that you need to have a certain threshold of numbers to be able to make the impeachment process, successful.
Yeah.
For that, as your question is, that you need the opposition. I think in a democracy, the government and the opposition both have a role to play in the running of Parliament,
right,
the passing of bills,
right,
and also in such a motion. From that perspective, certainly, if it comes up, if the government brings such a thing, if it is finally presented to the House for voting, then the opposition, if it does not vote on such an issue, that question in such a circumstance has to be asked of them. Why did they choose to do so? On the other hand, they may well vote for such a motion.
Nalin, while they might vote for the motion, the point that opposition is also making is that the same government which is now absolutely willing to impeach Justice Varma has been, not as aggressive on the issue of Justice Yadav. So you think that might become a hindrance?
Can you compare the two situations? How are they comparable? I mean, just let's again put this in a different perspective. The opposition has a point of view, the government has a point of view, other parties may have a point of view. But how is there a committee report? Is there an incident preceding the 3 judges committee report that talks about money being found in any person's case? Justice Varma's case is a rather unique situation I don't think any one of us can recall seeing these kind of visuals associated with the judge ever.
But there is a motion for the impeachment of Justice Yadav also, like the 50 MPs have signed a petition.
Certainly, the MPs, under parliamentary process, under the constitutional provisions, have a right to do something that they wish to do, present something as they wish to do. But whether that would succeed or it would not succeed cannot be looked at through the prism of cutting a deal.
Right.
It has to be seen on the merits of each case.
Okay.
Now, the government, what it decides, will decide based on how it perceives the merit of each case.
All right.
The opposition, if it says, no, we are going to vote only in a condition if you vote for, say, our motion, then it is for the opposition to explain why they don't want to vote if such a motion against Justice Varma is moved.
All right. My last question before I let you go, Nalin. Pending this impeachment motion, it's a long-drawn process. The issue of an FIR, which has been raised again by Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, what's the issue with that? Why can't that be done? Like you said, Justice Khanna went by the Meera Swamy case, but there should be a way out of this very visible embarrassment for the judiciary that there can't be an FIR.
So I have a way of looking at it a little differently. An FIR essentially is a first information report. Now the next question comes is who's going to file that FIR? It can be filed by anyone as far as I see it. Does it really require...
If the lordships allow, then obviously the fireman who reached there can file the FIR. What's the problem?
Let me reach there on a conclusion. On a daily basis, all of us, in the news or in the courts, see FIRs filed by everyone. So I'm a little surprised that it hasn't been filed yet. But somewhere I have seen, rightly or wrongly, as if I recall, some people perhaps raised the question that the Chief Justice should initiate that. I'm not so sure if that would be appropriate. That would you expect, for example, the Chief Justice or another constitutional post, no matter what that constitutional post is, to actually be the complainant of an FIR?
Okay.
I'm not sure. So I think the principle that an FIR should be registered, I don't think any of us are arguing on that. Certainly, if there is a concern with a commission of crime, that has to be met and that has to be filed. The second part being, who is to file that, whether that should be directly by the Chief Justice of India or some senior judge of the Supreme Court, High Court or whatever, that's a second debate, because then I would say, where would it stop? In a government, would you say that a minister should file it? So I would be very, very hesitant in buying an argument without it being seen from all perspectives.
That's a lot of legalese, Nalin, sorry to say, but it would have looked really good
had
the
you just introduced me as
lordships,
a lawyer,
taken the initiative.
How do you use the word legalese against me?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, my friend. I just have one thing to say, that ultimately there is a redressal mechanism to sort out the grievance in this place. And as far as the judiciary's role is in this, they followed the Meera Swamy judgment. They have gone ahead, done that inquiry. That inquiry report is there. And therefore, that is the logical outcome is going to be what is being spoken about in terms of the parliamentary proceedings.
All right. Thank you so much, Nalin. Over to the parliament now. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was just a couple of weeks ago that Defence Minister Rajnath Singh walked out of the SCO Defence Ministers Summit without signing a joint declaration in China. Now, it's turn of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to be there in Tianjin for the SCO Foreign Ministers meeting this week. But will this be a repeat? With a bilateral meeting on the cards and recent developments like India's Deputy Chief of Army Staff calling out China, Pakistan, Turkey military nexus during Operation Sindoor. And of course, the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday festivities. The big question in the diplomatic arena this week will be, can the elephant and the dragon tango after all? Our next report looks forward to just that.
Just 2 weeks ago, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was in Qingdao, China for Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Defence Ministers Summit.
We reiterate the need to hold the perpetrators, organizers, financiers and sponsors of reprehensible acts of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism, accountable and bring them to justice.
This was the Raksha Mantri's first official foreign visit at a multilateral forum after India's Operation Sindoor. 2 weeks later, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is all set to visit Tianjin in China for the conclave of SCO's foreign ministers. This is the External Affairs Minister's first visit to China since the 2020 Galwan clash.
Dr. Jaishankar and Mr. Wang Yi, the Chinese Foreign Minister, have met several times abroad, spoken. The last one was at the G20, and he has been meeting, talking to one another. We have had the meetings on the highest level, but under the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, whenever the country holds summits, there are various meetings that are held. And the meetings are held importantly at the level of defense ministers, at the level of national security advisors, and at the level of the foreign ministers. Now, during the foreign ministers' visit or interactions, mainly what are the issues that are going to be discussed, what is going to be the joint statement after the summit. And this time, as you know, China is hosting the summit, and therefore they expect Prime Minister Modi to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. And Dr. Jaishankar is going there, so he is doing two things. One is a bilateral meeting, and the bilateral meeting will be held in Beijing, and then he'll be going for the foreign ministers meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
However, this visit of Dr. Jaishankar comes on the back of India's bold stance at Shanghai Cooperation Organization just 2 weeks ago.
Any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever, and by whomsoever committed. SCO members must condemn this evil unequivocally.
India's position at the SCO was clear. The SCO must condemn the evil of terrorism unequivocally. But the SCO refused to budge, and India too took a firm stance, refusing to sign the joint declaration, resulting in a major setback for the hosts, China. The reason for the fallout? The SCO's pro-terror language in the document with no mention of cross-border terrorism or condemnation of the dastardly terrorist attack in Pahalgam, and unwarranted mentions of Balochistan instead.
Our defense minister participating in the defense ministers meeting of SCO. This meeting happened over 2 days, that is yesterday and today. The defense ministers meeting has concluded. I understand that they could not adopt a joint statement. I also understand that certain member countries could not reach consensus on certain issues, and hence the document could not be finalized. On our side, India wanted concerns on terrorism reflected in the document, which was not acceptable to one particular country.
Meanwhile, Dr. Jaishankar is no stranger to China. After all, he goes down in the history books as India's longest-serving ambassador to China, with 4.5 years term in Beijing. With Dr. Jaishankar in town, China rides high on hopes of a bilateral meeting.
After 2020, our relationship has virtually been quite confrontational, I would say, even though both sides have tried to resolve it through dialogue and diplomacy. India definitely has preferred that, while giving them a fitting response to the Chinese hegemonistic designs that have happened. Our forces are still continuing to have an eyeball-to-eyeball kind of a situation on the border, but both sides are trying to defuse the crisis. There are many issues, some have been resolved, others are yet to be resolved.
This is a very important meeting since after 2020, these foreign ministers have not met except on the sidelines of summits and all. So this will be the first time we expect a bilateral also meeting. And in the bilateral meeting, I think the focus is going to be on de-escalation on the border, because one step has been taken where the patrolling has been allowed in certain areas, but not in all areas. And the a reduction in the number of troops on the border has also not come down. So I think de-escalation would be one of the agendas.
It's also the first time the External Affairs Minister is going to be in China since India called out China's active support to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor.
One border, two adversaries. So we saw Pakistan one side, but adversaries were two, and if I would say actually four or three actually. So Pakistan was the front face. We had China providing all possible support, and it's no surprise because if you were to look at statistics, in the last 5 years, 81% of the military hardware that Pakistan is getting is all Chinese, 81% of that. And another thing that China perhaps has seen is that he is able to test his weapons against, say, various other weapon systems that are there. It's like a live lab which is available to. So it's a good. That is what is something we have to be very, very cognizant about.
CD has also mentioned, the Deputy Chief also mentioned in his statement, China has been very actively supporting Pakistan in all military matters. China has given its air defense system HQ-9. A PL-15 missile has been used against India, and the evidence of this was we actually found one which we knocked down in Hisar. Then we had this JF-10 aircrafts also being used, 10C, against India. The satellite system being used against India. So there is enough evidence to say that China was not a passive partner. The crunch word here is it was not a passive partner, it was an active partner. So I think Mr. Jaishankar, he should bring out these factors, because if we have to normalize relations with the country, there has to be a trust factor involved. And we can't be seeing China helping Pakistan in such a clandestine manner without keeping India into confidence.
China has again tried to stop some of these supplies of the rare earth metals and all minerals that India needed, and I think that is also one of the areas. I believe that that has been done by China essentially to have some kind of a leverage during negotiations, because Chinese want direct flight to start, which has been discussed at the foreign secretary level. They want visa facilitations, they want investments in India and all that. So I think there are a lot of host of issues that will be discussed.
Also in attendance will be Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, coming face to face against Dr. Jaishankar for the first time since Pakistan's DGMO called India to seek a ceasefire. However, it's not just going to be all about defense. Trade continues to remain a major bone of contention between India and China.
Well, if China feels that it can stop the growth of India, then China is highly mistaken. Our programs like Vocal for Local, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, Stand Up India, Start Up India, and so on. All these programs are aimed at designed to make India self-reliant as far as the production is concerned, because the Prime Minister has already outlined that he is looking for greater share in global economy, and that is possible only when India exports more. So certainly in that case we have a competition with China, and we all know that what China produces quantity, not quality. Whereas on the other hand we are producing quality, and now Indian goods are being accepted across the world. So if China feels that it can stop or it can put some roadblocks into the growth of Indian manufacturing or service sector, then I think China should mend his ways.
While India is emerging as a global alternative to Chinese manufacturing in light of Trump's tariff push, China has spared no effort in throttling India's supply chains. But if trade, border standoff, or China's support to Pakistan isn't enough to make matters uncomfortable, then perhaps the Dalai Lama issue will certainly do the trick.
So in this one now, there are a couple of issues in the bilateral level that have cropped up, that have been there. One was, of course, His Holiness Dalai Lama's birthday recently, which has caused a little bit of a consternation in China, because it is very sensitive and it is about who's going to be the next Dalai Lama. So that definitely the Chinese will sort of protest or say something, but he's our guest and he's been here forever and he'll remain here and he'll be given due respect. That's India's position. We do not allow any anti-China activities from here, but then China has to reciprocate and show the mutual respect. If they are going to behave in a way that they are continuing to ingress in our positions, continuing to claim our territory, create problems in India, then obviously they can't expect quite response from India. We'll have to reciprocate, and that's precisely what I think we are going to do.
Such is the nature of multilateral diplomacy. Forums change, locations change, but the challenge is that of a consistent position. And on that, India has bettered the dragon.
5 साल के बाद हमारी फॉर्मल मीटिंग हो रही है. सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए. म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए.
Will the External Affairs Minister's visit to China bring any sign of warmth in the relationship which has been put into a cold storage by the Chinese after Operation Sindoor? Or will it be rinse-repeat of what happened just a few weeks ago? Another walkout from China's joint declaration? The answer to that question is something that we look forward to this week.
Some diplomatic quicksand there for Jaishankar to negotiate. Moving on, in just a few hours, friends, history will mark another milestone when Shubhanshu Shukla, our own Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, starts his journey back home from the International Space Station. The undocking is slated to take place tomorrow in the afternoon, and then, of course, the landing day after tomorrow. Take a look at what all he would go through before the splashdown.
Indian Space Research Organization, AX-4 pilot Shubhanshu Shukla.
Namaste. I am Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla.
A fighter pilot for 15 years, he was selected as one of 4 Indian astronauts in 2020.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff.
For 3 nations, a new chapter in space takes flight. Godspeed, AX-4.
T+30 seconds into flight with the Axiom 4 crew on board Dragon, headed to the International Space Station. Waiting to hear call-outs from the Falcon 9 engineering team.
41 साल पहले कोई भारतीय अंतरिक्ष में गए थे और उन्होंने हमें बताया था कि ऊपर से भारत कैसा दिखता है. और कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है कि हम सब ये जानना चाहते हैं कि आज भारत कैसा दिखता है. मैं आपको बताता हूँ. आज का भारत स्पेस से महत्वाकांक्षी दिखता है. आज का भारत निडर दिखता है. आज का भारत कॉन्फिडेंट दिखता है. आज का भारत गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है. और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूँ कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है. जल्दी धरती पर मुलाकात करते हैं.
From countdown to splashdown, India's space hero, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, is all set to return to the Earth. This 18-day journey with 4 astronauts and many experiments is finally coming to an end. The 4 astronaut crew is scheduled to undock from the International Space Station on the 14th of July, that is tomorrow at 4:34 p.m. Indian Standard Time. As per NASA, The Dragon spacecraft will not just return with 4 astronauts but will also carry data from over 60 experiments conducted throughout the mission. As the SpaceX Dragon capsule prepares for re-entry into the orbit of the Earth, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla and his crewmates will face intense physical and environmental challenges. Strapped into their seats, they will experience high G-forces as the capsule plunges through Earth's atmosphere at speeds exceeding 27,000 km/h. The re-entry process for Axiom 4 is a meticulously orchestrated sequence. The Dragon capsule will undock from the ISS's Harmony module and perform a deorbit burn to slow its speed, allowing Earth's gravity to pull it back. As it re-enters the atmosphere, friction will create a plasma sheath. The spacecraft's heat shield will endure temperatures up to 2,700 degrees Celsius, protecting the crew from the fiery descent, even temporarily cutting off communication with ground control.
To plane, and there you see it on your screen, drogue deployment.
But the journey does not end with splashdown. After landing, the astronauts will undergo a crucial 7-day rehabilitation process. Astronauts face muscle atrophy and bone density loss after extended space missions. Rehabilitation ensures they regain strength, balance, and mobility. It is a step-by-step process. It begins with light physical therapy aimed at easing the astronauts back into Earth's gravity. They will focus on regaining muscle tone and flexibility. Back home in India, Shubhanshu's family waits anxiously for this moment of triumph. Every member...
Alright, this is all what we could pack in this Sunday edition of Looking Forward. And hope you enjoyed it. Short break, live and breaking with Rakshita is on the other side.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
महाराष्ट्राची माफी मागतो, मी छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांची माफी मागतो, महाराजांची माफी मागतो, बाळासाहेबांची माफी मागतो, बाळासाहेबांची माफी मागतो, उद्धव साहेबांची माफी मागतो, माफी मागतो, राज साहेबांची माफी मागतो, माफी हो गया पुढे तो भाईचा बोला आवाज आवाज व्हिडिओ मध्ये
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.